Hello and welcome, I'm Wick, and today I will be reviewing the latest set of cards revealed for the upcoming Legends of Runeterra expansion, Fate's Voyage Onward. So, yesterday we had the variety pack with all of the explorers and the explorer spells, and I believe that today we will be seeing the support package for the upcoming third champion for the expansion. And this expansion will be coming up 13th of September, which is in only a couple days. So I hope everybody is getting excited and getting ready for all of these new cards. I know I can't wait to get my hands on them. So let's go ahead and get into these cards and start seeing what champion we're going to be seeing. I think, you know, we saw in the little video yesterday that we were going up to Herald, and there's been a couple of there's a little info out there, so I think we know who it is, but let's go ahead and check these out. Oh, okay. And I mean, Ursine, I mean, I think we all know that this is going to be Valhir, right, guys? So let's just get that out there. It looks like we have Valhir support package today, and this is the first 3 cards. So let's go ahead and check that out. All right, so the first card is Sigil of the Storm, and Sigil of the Storm is a 1-mana landmark in Freljord that says Sigil of the Storm stack. So I guess that you can play multiple of them and the effect will continue. So Titanic allies cost 1 less. Destroy me when you play a Titanic ally. So it looks like we have a new keyword here, Titanic. I guess they're going to be big, right? Oh, and I think it's important to note that Sigil of the Storm is not collectible. Okay, so it looks like Valhir's Prophet and Berserker Ursine is how you summon these sigils. So these sigils are going to be discounting your Titanic allies, but then, you know, they're going to be consumed as soon as you summon something. But okay, so that's really interesting. I think that the sigil will help you ramp. I'm not really sure what Titanic allies are yet, but I do believe that we have a slide that has some information. So let's go ahead and check out what Titanic is. Titanic, new vocab. Titanic, units with 8 attack or health. Okay, so Titanic is just going to be any unit that has 8 power or 8 HP, and that's a lot of cards. And I okay, so I mean, that's really interesting, right? It's kind of like the way that the trolls behold all of the 8 power units or 8 cost units in order to gain effects, but you know, now we have Titanic, which is just going to apply to any unit in the game with 8 power or 8 HP. I think that's okay. So it's not really a new keyword, or it's just a new way to refer to something, right? Instead of Sigil of the Storm saying allies with 8 or more power or 8 or more health cost 1 less, right? That 8 or more power and health, it just kind of gets to be put into Titanic. I mean, it's just a cute way to add more keywords and vocabulary to the game, so I think it's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and start looking at these units. So these 2 units both summon a Sigil of the Storm, right? So let's go ahead and look at Valhir's Prophet, which is a 3-mana 2/3 that summons a Sigil of the Storm. So it's kind of like pseudo ramp, right? You're discounting big units that, you know, if it has 8 health or 8 HP, it's gonna be expensive, right? So you want to discount those as much as possible. So when you look at these cards that summon the sigils, it's a 3-mana 2/3, and that kind of means that you know, on turn 3 you're gonna be ramping. I don't know, a 2/3 body is pretty weak, especially for a 3-cost unit, but I guess like ramping into your Titanic units is gonna help you accelerate your game plan quite a bit. I mean, I can definitely see this card being played just for that. I mean, it's fine. I don't know, it's really ramp has never really interested in me, I'll be honest. Like, my favorite way to gain mana is to go to the next turn, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, it's a 3 mana 2/3, not super exciting. It's just like a vessel for the new landmark. The landmark is obviously pretty good. I think the landmark's pretty good. So I guess Valhir's Prophet, you'll be playing that quite a bit. And then you have Berserker Ursine, which is a 6 mana 5/3. That says, when you play a spell or skill, summon a Sigil of the Storm. And I think this card's crazy. As an engine to just start generating a bunch of discounts for your large units, that's pretty good. It is 6 mana, so it will be coming down a little late in the game, you know? I mean, if you're on turn 6, you're probably playing your big, what are they called? Titanic units within the next couple turns, right? So this card should be very threatening for opponents and, you know, kind of force them to remove it as soon as possible, or else they'll be able to kind of stack up those discounts. I like this one better than the Prophet. I think that the Prophet's really boring, but you know, I'll be honest, man. If this was a 2 mana 2/3, Prophet would be probably one of the best cards in the game, you know what I'm saying? But it's 3 mana, so it's a lot worse. But I think Ursine, Berserker Ursine, I think that's really funny. Summoning the fact that you just like play a bunch of spells and skills and then you just get more discounts, I think that's really cool. So I think that's super solid. I like Ursine better as a Sigil summoner. So let's go ahead and look at the next group of cards. Okay, and so next we have Rhond, the Magma Serpent, and Rhond is a 7 mana 8/6, so it is Titanic because of the 8 power. And Rhond is in Freljord and says, play, summon 3 offerings. And I don't know what offerings is, but apparently offerings was the old name for the sigils of power that we see, or the sigil of storm. So when you see offering, just think Sigil of the Storm, all right? So Rhond is gonna get discounted by the other sigils in play, right? So ideally, maybe you can get Rhond down by turn 5 or turn 6, I don't know. But the thing is, Rhond is gonna help you ramp into your other Titanic units. Discounting 3, I mean, that is 3 other unit spaces on board, right? So, ooh, it's going to be kind of difficult. I think that they say that the sigils of the storm stack, and I don't really know if that means that they take up multiple. It says sigils of the storm stack, right? And so we have kegs that stack, but that only takes up 1 board space. I think Sigil of the Storm is infinitesimally better, right? If it only takes up 1 board space, especially when it comes to something like Rhond, which is drawing or summoning 3 sigils, right? You can't just lose 4 board spaces off of like 1 unit. Like that would just be, that would be completely debilitating. So I'm assuming I'm going to be generous, right, with my assumption of how these cards work, right? Is that the Sigil of the Storm only takes up 1 slot on your board. I think that has to be. It has to be, especially with the way that Berserker Ursine is, right? Berserker Ursine is literally BB, but for sigils, right? So I assume that it just goes on to 1 spot. But anyways, Rhond, 7 mana 8/6, summons 3 sigils. Yeah, it's pretty good, right? You discount this and then you discount something else, right? So you're just like, it creates a lot of value, I guess. Not really value, but you get a lot of tempo out of this card, I suppose. You know, you get to discount a very powerful unit by 3 mana right off the bat. But I mean, you're playing this card this turn as well. So, I mean, it seems very difficult for me. Unless you can get these sigils up to like 6 or 7 and you get a 0 mana Rhond. I mean, that'd be really great. And maybe you can, right? With the way that the Berserker Ursine is, right? Where you could just like play a bunch of burst spells, like small spells or whatever, right? And then just summon up like a big unit for free, and then just, you know, keep doing that. Oh, that's kind of funny, actually, right? If you're able to get this Berserker Ursine just like kind of rolling with like a ton of spells, you can just get like a 0. Whoa, actually, maybe these cards cost like 0 or 1. And if you think about these cards costing 0 or 1, like that's pretty good, right? Maybe. And you know, sigils work on champions, right? Because it just says allies. Hey, you know what? I think Ursine might be busted. Ursine might be disgusting because it works with burst spells. So that's really cool. Wow. Anyways, I think Rhond could be okay. I think in the context of being able to turbo these out in like the magic world that I'm currently living in, I think that it'd be really funny. But okay, so let's move on from Rhond. And let's move to Herald of Celestial Convergence, which is a 8 mana 5/8. So it's Titanic. It's an 8 mana 5/8 bird from Targon that says play, activate other allies' Daybreak and Nightfall effects. Daybreak, grant me Overwhelm. Nightfall, grant me Spell Shield. So this is just, you know, this feels like, whoa, wow. Activate other allies' Daybreak and Nightfall effects. This is really good. Ah, wow. Especially if like you're really able to get discounts onto your Titanic units, right? And you're able to get this down earlier. Ooh, this is a nasty finisher. I'm thinking about this, right? On the board with like, what is the big crescent unit that was like super, oh, Winding Light, right? This reminds me of Winding Light as like another finisher, but this is like a double finisher. Man, I think this card wins the game for you as well, though, if you have a decent board in of Nightfall and Daybreak units. Wow, this is a really cool card. I love Nightfall, though, obviously. I feel like a lot of people love Nightfall. Yeah, this seems like a really cool card. Obviously, I think a lot of people like Nightfall, and I think a lot of people don't mind Daybreak too much. This is really cool, though, especially if you only need like a couple of other units. Like, let's say you have a Leona on board. Like, it's stunning something, right? And then you're gaining Overwhelm. Overwhelm on this unit is really good. Spell Shield on this unit is really good. This thing has 8 HP. This thing is Titanic. You know, it's really powerful. I think especially with the discounts that are going to be coming out through the sigils, I think that this card will be pretty easy to come down earlier than turn 8. You know what I'm saying? I think that the sigils are a very interesting form of ramp, and I don't mind them that much. I think they're pretty cool. I think this is really cool. But yeah, okay, so that was Herald of Celestial Convergence. I think it's a pretty solid card. And the last card of the day is going to be Seismic Shard, which is Malphite's Q, I believe, from League of Legends. Yeah. Where it slows and steals It also steals movement speed. But okay, so Seismic Shard is a 7 mana slow spell for Targon that's elemental. And it says, if you behold a Titanic unit, I cost 3 less, deal 7 to a unit. So costing 3 less, a 4 mana, deal 7 if you behold a Titanic unit. I think that's pretty powerful. I think that's pretty good. You know, Targon has Sunburst as one of their major damage based removal. Well, it's damage and a silence, obviously. But dealing 7 to a unit is no joke. This should be able to kill practically anything. And then for anything bigger that you need to kill, you can just use something like an Obliterate that Targon typically has access for. I think that this card's pretty solid, and I don't think that it's going to be difficult to behold a Titanic unit. This should always cost 4, and having a 4 mana deal 7 is pretty strong. I think this is a very powerful tool for Targon and will really help the region be even more powerful with having access to this if the meta needs it. Like if you need to kill something with 7 HP, which is gonna be weird because, right, Titanic is 8 health and 8 power, right? So this specifically doesn't kill Titanic units. Like imagine if this was a Titanic killer, right? If this had 8, like it should be 8 to a unit, right? Just thematically. And I think a deal 3, it's fine, right? 7 mana deal 8, like who cares? It's okay. Yeah, so that's the cards today. We have these new Titanic cards. We have the Sigil. Looks like Volibear is gonna have 8 attack or 8 health. You know, Volibear has to be Titanic, right? It'd be ridiculous if he wasn't. But let's quickly go over the cards again. So we have Valhir's Prophet and Berserker Ursine, which both summon Sigil of the Storms. I think Valhir's Prophet is a little expensive, but I guess because you're ramping into your really powerful units, I guess it should be. I think that card is whatever, but I think Berserker Ursine, the 6 mana 5/3 that summons a Sigil every time you play a spell or skill, I think that card is going to be ridiculous. And I think that we're going to see the potential to just get these big giant Titanic units down to costing 1 or 2, maybe even 0, you know, if you have like enough spell generation. I think it'd be really interesting. Obviously it reminds us of the keg spawning Mirai. I forgot is it playful Mirai or BB? I just know it as BB, so I only call her BB. But this card reminds me of BB, and she was pretty powerful when she first came out with a couple of other cards. So we'll see how this one does in regards to generating a ton of Sigil of the Storms for you to discount your big Titanic units. So Sigil of the Storm, I think, is a really cool landmark and a really cool archetype to create, right? It is a ramp, but for specific units. I think that Titanic is a very cool keyword, or not keyword, but a very cool way to title cards that have 8 power and 8 HP, and kind of keep it in theme with Freljord's affinity for 8 cost units. They have this 888 theme going on in the region, so that's pretty cool. And then we had Rhond, the Magma Serpent, the 7 mana 8/6 Titanic, you know, summon 3 sigils or offerings, but summon 3 sigils, so it's going to discount the next Titanic unit by 3 instantaneously. And I think that is fine. Maybe it's pretty vanilla, so maybe it won't do anything. But we also have Herald of Celestial Convergence, the Titanic unit from Targon, the Titanic bird, I should say, that costs 8 mana. It's a 5/8 that says, you know, it activates your allies' Daybreak and Nightfall effects, just period, right? Which is crazy. And Daybreak itself, it gains Overwhelm. It grants itself Overwhelm permanently, and Nightfall grants itself Spell Shield permanently. I think that this card is pretty good, especially with any discounts, with any board. This card is going to be able to have a pretty good effect. Even if you're Nightfalling it for a 5/8 with Spell Shield, if you have discounts on this card, that's a pretty powerful unit to summon out any earlier than turn 8, you know? So I do think that this card is pretty powerful. We'll see how strong the Sigil package turns out to be with Targon, but obviously I guess we'll be seeing like a Targon Freljord ramp style of play again, something like Old Peak, I guess, with these big giant units being cheated out. And then finally we have Seismic Shard, which is the 7-mana elemental spell, slow spell from Targon that deals 7 to a unit and costs 4 when you behold the Titanic. I think this is pretty powerful removal for Targon, and I think that the region's already pretty decent right now, so we should probably see a lot of play if the meta needs to remove big chunky units. And I mean, like, it kills Rhond, right? So it kills a lot of things. It's a pretty powerful health point, so very interesting for Targon to receive some more direct damage removal like this. But all right, that is all of the reveals today. Thank you as always for tuning in and joining with me as we check out the new cards. Very excited for Valhir tomorrow, and the expansion on Wednesday, September 13th, and that should be live, I believe 11 a.m. Pacific time is when it's typically been live in the past. I'll be playing. I don't know what I'll be playing, but I might be playing some degenerate wildfire decks, and maybe I'll record some stuff and upload it later for you guys. But thank you as always for tuning in and joining me and watching. Please feel free to follow my YouTube channel and get notifications for my upcoming videos. Please feel free to drop a like or a comment. You know, I love receiving comments and replying to everybody down there with any questions or any any concerns or ideas that you may have. You can always find me on other platforms as well. I am Wickhelm on just about every platform that exists out there. I am on Threads, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Blue Sky, you name it. Everything except for Facebook, which might be changing soon, you know, but please feel free to give me a follow and keep up with me. I would love to hear from you. You can also always join the Always Be Gaming community Discord. We hang out in there, playing games and chatting about the new cards. And we also host tournaments, so please join. We would love to have you. All right, thank you again. Peace.